Hello, everybody. My name is Eric Brown. I'm the General Counsel and founder of Nutmeg Independent Labor Unions and the Law Office of Eric Brown. We represent a number of labor unions throughout the state of Connecticut. And with me today is Thad Dymkowski, who's a GIS analyst for the town of South Windsor and also the president of the South Windsor Professional Non-Supervisors Union, which is a new union in the town of South Windsor that joined Nutmeg about a year and a half ago. And we're going to have a discussion a little bit about how the South Windsor folks came to join Nutmeg and what Nutmeg has done for them. So welcome, Thad.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. As I said, you guys and gals are a fairly new union. Tell me a little bit about the process that you all went through to decide to unionize and why you decided to unionize.
Approximately 2 years ago, there were some significant management changes at the town of South Windsor. Prior to that, staff had reached a level of comfort with the previous town manager where a lot of things were kind of taken for granted. With regards to privileges and benefits and those types of things. When the new town manager came on with his new administration, he definitely brought about some changes. And the general vibe among employees were that some of these changes and modifications didn't necessarily fit with a comfort level that they were willing to go with long term. So we talked among staff and decided that perhaps forming a union would be the best way to protect some of those interests that we feared might be short-lived under the new management.
So how many folks are in your union currently?
We currently have 19 members in our union.
So you're professional and non-supervisory union. So what kinds of jobs are in your union?
Well, that's kind of what makes us unique in a lot of the sense that you have such a wide, diverse group of individuals. I'm a GIS analyst, so I walk a line somewhere between IT and engineering. We have some folks who are environmental scientists. We have some folks who represent the health department. We have folks that are in the human services division. So we really kind of span a lot of different areas of professions within a town. So you can't really apply working conditions the same to every position.
Yeah, I'll bet that there was probably some hesitancy among some of the folks in your bargaining unit about joining a union to begin with, given that you're all professionals and that's not what you typically see in a union.
You're absolutely right. There was some hesitancy, but for the most part, the members that voted in favor of the union, which was a majority, were of the understanding that regardless of the diversity of our group, that there was no reason why we shouldn't be heard and have a voice at the table. That was really important to us.
It makes a lot of sense that if you had concerns about wages and benefits that you would consider forming a union. So why don't you tell the folks a little bit about what the process was like in forming a union and what it was like in working with my law firm in Nutmeg to be able to do that?
The majority voted in favor of forming the union. And then the hard work really began. Starting from scratch, we had to write the Constitution. We had to elect officers. We had to establish the organization from the ground up. And we knew right away that we wanted legal representation that was going to provide us with the highest quality of service and the best essence of specialty in the area of labor law. We knew about you in terms of your past relationship with the town. We spoke with representatives from the police department, and they spoke very highly of your firm. So we knew that you definitely had the qualifications that we were looking for. And we approached you. You came down and did a presentation to the group and kind of explained what was at stake. And you very concisely and clearly kind of laid out the process and what would be involved. We're at about a year and a half to about 2 years now in our process. We wrote our Constitution. That took some time. I was elected president, and I've tried my best to run a very democratic-based union. So everything is put before the entire body for vote of any significance. I solicit for feedback and for the voice of the union on a regular basis to make sure that I'm really putting forth the best interest of body as a whole. And working with your group has been really, really valuable to us. None of us, other than maybe one or two, have been part of a union. So for us, this was really breaking new ground, both professionally, individually, as well as the organization goes. So we've been very, very grateful for the guidance and the counsel that you and your staff have provided us along the way in terms of writing the Constitution and vetting it for us, and really providing us guidance and a roadmap, if you will, to get to ultimately where we want to be.
So we have a staff here now, myself, Jay Puglisi, who's another attorney, and Jason Cooling, who's sort of our union liaison, jack of all trades. How's it been working with those other two guys?
They've been really great, especially Jay Puglisi. I have to say, we had an incident very early on with one of our union members and the town, and Jay stepped right up and he guided us through that process and got us to the best possible resolution for that situation. So Jay's been really great. Jason Cooling has also been really great in terms of participating in our monthly meetings, being there as kind of a voice of guidance, and as you said, a liaison between our group and your staff, and really providing that avenue for communication with you and your staff. So that too has been very, very appreciated. The two of them have really gone above and beyond as far as I'm concerned.
So when you guys came on board, obviously you were a new union. You didn't have any money in the bank to sort of get yourselves going. So how did you handle the financial parts of starting up a union and hiring a law firm and things like that? How's that worked out for you?
Right, it's been working really well for us. We, as you said, we were starting from scratch. So we very, quickly established what our budget would need to be and what our income would need to be to kind of meet our financial obligations. We've been really, really tight in terms of collecting fees from members and making sure that they understand their financial obligation is not just for their membership to the union, but what that means in terms of what membership to the union gets them, as well as the representation that your firm provides us. So it's money that's been well invested, and we've definitely appreciated getting value for that investment.
Sometimes what I hear from folks in other unions is they get concerned about the cost and they don't feel like they're getting value for what they're paying in terms of dues every month. And that's sort of a standard objection that you'll hear from some people with regard to being a union member. How have your folks felt about paying union dues and getting value and things like that?
Well, I try and look at it from this aspect, Eric. I've heard from several members, one or two who have since opted not to be paying members, and I don't pressure them. I make sure that they fully understand that, by not paying your membership dues, you're foregoing your real voice when it comes time to, make a motion or do something that is directly going to impact their job. Unfortunately, they're not going to have that opportunity. In addition, I point out that while things may be smooth for them at work right now, and there may be no problems, that when the time comes and they do want that legal representation at the table, or they do need that legal advice, or they do need that help, by not paying their dues, that they're not going to be afforded those privileges, and that regardless of whether they pay or not, the contract that we're writing and that's going to be approved is going to impact them. By not paying their dues, feeling as though they're not getting any sort of benefit from it right now is really kind of short-sighted on their side. As far as value for the dollar, I mean, like I said, I can't say right now that we're being shortchanged in any sense of the word. As I said, we've already received services from your firm that far outweigh what our members are paying in terms of their dues.
Now, prior to becoming president of this union, had you ever served in a leadership position in any union before?
In a union, no. I had been president of a few organizations. I had been in leadership positions in that sense, but never in terms of a union. I don't have any regrets on that role. And having your firm in my support group has really kind of made my job easy. Anytime I have questions or guidance or need anything in terms of information, your team is always right there and never more than an email or a phone call away.
That's good to hear. We try to pride ourselves on making sure we're always available. And I'm glad that we're able to do that for your folks and you. Since you organized and started the union, how has your relationship changed with the town and with management?
It's really been kind of interesting. I was kind of not sure at the beginning of what was going to happen. What I've found is that leadership actually tends to not really be weary per se, but they're definitely more conscious of my role in the union. And much sooner do they come to me with information regarding issues that may have impact. And I have to say that they have made an effort to try and have a good working relationship. Prior to that, I think that I felt as an employee, I was a little more on the outside. So it's nice to see that, they've seen this as an opportunity to have a more of an open dialogue and communication. And I'm able to take that information directly back to the union members. So it's actually been a beneficial aspect.
One of the things that we've always tried to promote at Nutmeg is having our employee groups be collaborative with management and trying to direct how the work gets done and how folks are going to do the job. Have you found there to be collaboration with management since you unionized?
There has been. I mean, it hasn't been 100% smooth, but that's to be expected with kind of new adventures like this on both sides of the table. They've never had to deal with a union for these particular employees. It's new on both sides, and I give them the benefit of that doubt. But I will say that there have been signs of collaboration. We had an issue come up recently that affected a large group of individuals. We've had a regular dialogue back and forth about this, and they seem eager to try and work with us to find a solution to it. It's definitely been a two-way street, absolutely.
Some people get the idea that unions are there to cause problems and pound the table and make constant demands. Have you seen that as being the reality of your management union relationship in South Windsor?
No, I don't think so. And I think a lot of that stems maybe from some of the cinematic representations maybe people have seen from, the early days of labor unions. So I think that a lot of people's perceptions are based on those historic representations. Nowadays, there's no reason why labor unions and the employer can't work hand in hand. I've made it very clear in every interaction that I've had with management, we can be reasonable on both sides of the table. There's no reason why we can't reach a fair agreement. It's important to me so that everyone feels as though they're walking away with some of what they wanted. I mean, we all know that in every negotiation, there's going to be a give and a take. And there's no reason why both parties shouldn't walk away from the table feeling as though an agreement of fairness has been achieved. And I want management to feel that way. I mean, I don't want them to see it as a lopsided agreement in any sense.
In the year and a half, 2 years now since you've been organized as a union, what's been the best thing about being part of Nutmeg and being part of a union?
I've got to just say the support. Like I said, I've reached out to Jay Pugliese when we had that first incident. Jay was right there working with the town and management to try and come up with a solution that was amicable to both sides, and just made sure that we understood what the situation was, what this proposed solution meant, and really looked out for the union to make sure that we had full understanding before we moved forward with any sort of agreement. So I have to say that that's the one benefit that I can say that your organization, Nutmeg, has provided us, is just that level of support. A lot of times you'll sign a contract with someone and you send them an email or you send them a text, and maybe you don't hear from them for a day or two, or you'll get the proverbial, hey, I'll get back to you kind of response. And your organization has not been like that. There was an incident even where Jay wrote to me while he was still on vacation. And I didn't know he was on vacation. I said, Jay, you're on vacation. This can clearly wait until Monday. And he was appreciative, but I think I was even more appreciative of the fact that he took that moment to, recognize my request and to acknowledge it and say, hey, geez, when can we schedule something? So that was fantastic. That's not a level of support you see just about everywhere.
That's the level of service that we've always tried to provide. And I think that's what makes us different from some of the other folks who do this work.
Absolutely. I concur with you 100%.
So you started this about a year and a half, 2 years ago with probably some particular goals in mind. Now that you've been at it for a year and a half or 2 years, how do you think you're doing in terms of getting to where you want to get to, and what you anticipated being in a union would be like?
Well, it's tough to kind of look back and think about my preconceived notions were going to be. When you hear the word union, everyone gets different, images in their mind. I recognize that, as I said, with new management, there were going to be some changes and possibly the loss of some benefits and assets that I myself really got comfortable with and really got to enjoy. Protecting those benefits and assets is obviously an important thing for me, as well as many of my coworkers. So I think that's really it. It's the idea of protection and having a voice, as was previous to the union. My employer really had the wherewithal to do as they pleased. They could have made decisions unilaterally without seeking my input and doing as they please. And now I feel much more comfortable knowing that, we have that voice at the table. We have that representation and we have that opportunity to come to a mutually agreed upon solution rather than a one-way street. So that's definitely something that I've kind of come to appreciate about being in the union.
If a group of professionals or non-supervisory employees, white collar employees came to you and said, hey, we're thinking about forming a union, what would be the first piece of advice that you would give them?
Seek out a labor lawyer. Get advice from them. Get guidance. Find yourself someone of your quality to represent them. One of the things that's unique about your firm is the fact that you are a specific labor lawyer. And we all know that when you go into these situations, whether it's negotiations or arbitration or the like, that ultimately, if you don't have someone who specializes in labor law, then you're going to get someone who's either going to have to subcontract to that service out, or they're going to have to do the research, or they're going to have to come up to speed really quick on the labor laws. So I think that would be my one piece of advice to them is when you look for legal representation, try and get someone who already is a labor lawyer and has that background, because that's going to make a huge difference in how successful you are, I think.
Well, Thad, thank you. It's been really great being able to speak with you about this today. I think that your words are going to be very helpful for lots of folks who are either in a union now or thinking about joining a union. It's not always an easy step to take, but you guys have taken it. And it looks like things are going pretty well for you right now.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the opportunity, Eric. As I said, your firm has really come through for us and really provided us with the kind of support and the tools and information that we really needed when we needed it. And I think that ultimately it's going to work out just fine.
Thanks, Thad. It's been great working with you so far. I can't wait to get that first contract done.